Welcome, and thank you for joining today's session. Before we get started, make sure you're connected with me online so you can access more resources, tools, and upcoming events. You can always find me at tinkertechedu.com for workshops, coaching, and digital support. Let's dive in, learn together, and as always, keep building, keep growing, and keep tinkering. And welcome, everybody. I had to double check because I am looking at I was looking at my YouTube camera screen, and I noticed, oh, why isn't things working? And I realized my OBS monitor is further back from me versus my YouTube, and I'm like, things are off. Okay, don't freak out. But I've gone through a lot of practice of this, and I forgot where I was positioning things. The irony of this, as we're talking about um, digital confidence. So I had to do a little laugh there because I had like a second mini meltdown. Not a mini meltdown, so to speak, but just these things happen when you're in tech sometimes. But I want to welcome you to my digital confidence reset. I call it part deux. You'll see when I pull up the screen here. And I'm really so excited that you are here enjoying this session. I'm Bradford Harris. And if you don't know me, I've been in the technology space and the education space for over 15 years. Started out as an educator, and now I just help within the community and in the education space, in the corporate space, wherever you see me. I love talking about technology education as a whole. And I've started this little mini series on just your digital confidence and what that means in 2026. So I want to go ahead and let's get started with that and talk about what that looks like. So, as you can see here on my screen, and I'm going to go to the quick left to make sure everything's okay. And I don't see myself on the screen. That is perfectly fine. We'll fix that in just a moment here. These things do happen. So I'm gonna turn myself off. I'm gonna turn myself on. Make sure that I have my face here live for you guys so that everything is good. Okay. All right. See, isn't this great? This is like the perfect moment. You know, technology always just doesn't want to work for you sometimes, but then lo and behold, um, there it is. It's just like, oh, great, it doesn't work. Simple steps to get it fixed. And I'm just really actually so happy that these things are actually happening. I did not plan it this way. It just sort of happened. So, talk about your getting your confidence boosted up. But here's how we're going to run this today. So this is just a Q&A session. So the last time we were here, and I'm going to talk about this a little deeper. But the last time I did this, it was more of a LinkedIn uh, squashed with a Google Meet type of session, and I wanted this to do some talking with people and whatnot. And you can catch the on demand version of that on my YouTube channel as I talk about that. And also, what I'm going to be doing is I am going to be uh, doing that, kind of splicing that together into kind of like a mini vodcast type series, because myself and the person that I was talking with, we had a really good conversation about digital confidence. And so that's leading up to what this part does about is this digital confidence reset. And if you're on here, this really isn't about, and as I move my screen here, this really isn't about a complete start over. And I want to make that clear and transparent. I don't know if you heard me as I was moving my stuff over. I want to make that as transparent as possible. This isn't about I need to completely start over. I need to throw all my digital devices in the trash and start anew. That's not what this is about. This is about just taking that step back and going, okay, where am I at this point in my life in January, as I'm making resolutions, my one words, whatever it is that you believe in, where this is my time to just totally do a reset. Okay, so whether you're watching this as live or a replay, this is your time to reflect and ask questions along the way in the chat. So I welcome you asking questions. I welcome you even putting stuff in the comments later on, and I can go back and help you answer those critical questions. And as you can see here through the slide presentations, I'm not even going to be talking about a specific tool. That's my goal. I'm going to try as hard as I can not to just say this tool or that tool, because I don't want to narrow this down. This is about just you taking a personal inventory on where you need to go in your particular journey. So again, this is about you being digital confident in this year, as the emerging technology is constantly happening left and right, and not really starting over. This is not about starting over. This is about looking at your own inventory, like I said, and your own insights, and identifying where that digital friction is for all of us, even as myself. As you can see, you saw some of that friction that I was just dealing with just a little bit, and how I've learned in that instance not to panic, because I've been in some spots, thanks to my own personal stream, where okay, I just need to stop and just not do this. What are my next steps? Because if my, like for that example, if you had could not see my face, I would have just kept it moving. We're live. Live things happen. So again, feel free to continue to add to the comments. If you're on as a live Q&A, please go ahead and add your stories, your suggestions as we are talking this evening. So again, let's talk about this. So um, our goal here for this digital confidence reset, I want to explore our relationships with our technology. I want to empower ourselves with our technology. Remember, I want us to think about our technology as being a partner in our journey, and not just something that's an add-on or an added weight. I want it, for lack of a better term, like you see in this image, I want it for us to take flight, um, and I want us to be able to vocally address what that friction is, and I want us to be all empowered in this conversation. I want to talk about uh, where our pain points are and where we can go from here. And so that's what I wanted to also touch on in our in my last conversation, or my last session, when I did the LinkedIn session. And that conversation was around that digital confidence. And what stood out for me in that particular session, um, was it wasn't about the specific tools, but we were looking at the specific patterns. And some things that I learned from that session were that even the strongest people, even the most, and I hate saying this word, the most tech savvy person can still feel overwhelmed with using technology tools, implementing technology tools. They can still feel that sense of, oh my God, where do I go? What do I do? Why isn't this working? It was working an hour before. That's been me in this space. Literally, it's been for me, as you can hear my dogs probably barking. Things happen, and how do I control that friction? And also, what I learned from those patterns from that last session is confidence matters than that expertise. We're not necessarily looking for that guru or that expert. As we are swiping away on our devices, I don't think we're necessarily looking for that. Here's that one person that's going to solve all of our problems. Here is that tech device that's going to solve all of our problems. We're looking for how can I just make sure that I know that I'm confident in using said device tool, or how can I make sure that I'm not spending so much money, or how can I make sure that I'm taking away a certain devices or certain software and still be okay with what I'm using, even if I know that there may be a better tool out there that may be quicker or faster, but I'm still comfortable with this one and I'm willing to learn it, but just not at this time. Things like that. And then also, the pattern that I learned within that session is even digital stress can add up. There's emerging technology is just so big right now. I don't care what field you're in, it's just the adding upon one thing after another. It could be a lot. It could be way too much. Like I said, even the capable people still feel overwhelmed, but it can still add up over time. And so you don't know, you may not know whether you're coming or going with that. And then at the end of the day, and I always love this, there's always one person, and I don't know if she comes on after I do this little stream session or not, but I always think of her when I hear this word, but it's clarity. People want clarity when using their devices or when they're trying to learn how to use a device. They don't want the complexity. They don't want to get confused. They want to know how this is going to fit into their daily lifestyle. They need to decide, or we need to decide, if this is going to fit into our daily lifestyle, or if we need to just take something away, or just uh, figure out what our next step is. The more we add on to our plate, the more our stress can really be go up there as far as digital implementation. And I'm not just talking about in schools or at work. I'm even talking about in our personal lives. Imagine, like, I want you to even pause the video if you're watching this on a replay, or even think about this right now. Is take a moment and just think about, close your eyes and think about all the electronic digital devices or software that's in your house. And you may think, okay, Bradford, there's not that much in my house. But if you really stop to think about it in 2026, I mean, just from think about from the moment when we were in the pandemic all the way up to now. Think about maybe how much devices or software that you have gained or have put into practice personally. Take that needs assessment, and see, like, man, I've done a lot. I'm using a lot. This isn't just school or work. This is just your personal life. Now, add what you do at school and add what you do at work. Is it more complicated? Is it more stressful? Or do you feel like you can handle it? Those are some things that we're talking about. So, today I want to talk about those patterns and understand where it's actually coming from. So, that's the goal today. Okay. So, let's take a look. And as you can see here, like I said, I am not trying to talk about so many devices. Something's going to come up in just a moment. But I want to talk about friction and your digital roadblocks. So I want you to think about whether you're in live in the chat or in the replay. What is one digital thing that feels heavier than it should right now? It feels like a roadblock to you. Um, it feels like a challenge to you. And again, this could be one word, this could be a phrase, or just a quick little comment. Okay, I want you to think about that and tell me either in the comments or if you're in the live Q&A. I really want to know, what is one digital thing that feels so heavy or feels like a bear than it should right now. And if nothing comes to mind, that is completely okay. We're going to walk through this together. And I'll come up with something that obviously comes up a lot in conversation. In fact, it came up in a conversation just 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours ago, when a close friend of mine just came here, and he has nothing to do uh, with the field that I'm in, just a close friend. And it just came up. And that one thing that feels heavy, I mean, he didn't say it, but it was just a conversation. And that one thing that comes up a lot is artificial intelligence. Now, I don't want to make this a good or bad thing, or this is where the whole entire conversation is going. I'm just talking about this right now as maybe part of a friction. And remember, friction can be a good thing or a bad thing. It depends on how you are addressing it and implementing it into your daily life. But let's talk about it. I think this is where we need to sit down and have those conversations. And for me, I'm seeing that artificial intelligence, we all can acknowledge that it's fast and it's showing up everywhere. I've had these conversations in the past couple weeks. It's showing up everywhere in so many spaces, no matter if it's at work or at play, in ed tech, in school. It's just everywhere. And one of the conversations I had even with a colleague, and even with the same friend, I said, like, you can't escape it because it's different from all of our other digital practices where it's been silent for a while, but now it's infiltrated in small little spaces. And I don't mean infiltrated as a bad or wrong thing. It it's a very exciting time to be a part of this digital type culture, but it can also feel very confusing, very overwhelming, and it can also feel very loud at the same time. And that could be a lot. So there's a lot of stuff probably going in your head right now. And I know for me, it's a lot of stuff going in my head. So as you're still probably talking in the comments or still talking into the chat or live Q&A right now, I want to talk about some of my quick little frictions or experiences with this. In EdTech, I've always been the early adopter or discoverer, the innovator. So I'm always willing to play around in that space. Probably only the only things I'm willing to do when it comes to any other hobby is, let me jump in and play with that. Like, I'm not an auto mechanic type of a person, or a cook type of a person, if that makes sense. I'll jump in and try this just to see where I can feel like it fits for me. So I've always been in that, but I will say, and I'm putting this out there right now, it has definitely uh, been supportive of me. Our artificial intelligence part has been very supportive of me during some really huge, difficult times when I was laid off or let go of trying to find employment. I've been unemployed for quite a long time. And if you've looked on LinkedIn, and if you've looked at other websites, there are so many people who are unemployed, and they are trying to find ways to get back into the working space. And a lot of the conversation is about using said tech tools. And it's not even AI, but the entry space is about how do you use AI, if that makes sense. And so I have found that I'm trying to, and I want to hear from everybody else, no matter if this is on the replay or in the comments, that I'm trying to create my resumes a lot faster when I see jobs come up. that I'm using said AI tool. I don't want to name any names to make sure that my resume quickly aligns. I want to make sure that it doesn't sound like an AI, but it does sound like me. And I want to make sure things are posted really quickly because it does take a long time to write your resume and write your cover letter and then post it because it's not as simple as just here's your resume and upload it and you're done. You've got to do certain things. And I know I have a lot of colleagues out there who do help and support that. But I will say for me, what do you do when you can't afford those coaches and they can't and you can't and let me start that part over. What do you do when you cannot afford those coaches, career coaches, to help you tailor your resume, and you have a tool like AI to help support you? I've been in that space, and I listen to certain YouTube channels or different chats, and I use some of that literature or some of those phrases to help me boost up my resume because I also know that there are said companies that use their AI to catch certain things so they can get hired. So it's AI using AI. So it has helped me in that space. I've also had to make those difficult decisions of do I continue to use this software? Do I purchase something to keep going in this process, or do I stay on some sort of free plan? Now, I will tell you that I have, and I'm not recommending that anybody in in this video do this or not. That's totally up to you. But I have used, I do have a purchase of said tool. Uh, because I see how it works for me. But here's where the confusion part comes in because when I'm on said social media, now the confusing part is don't use this AI, use that AI. Purchase this AI, purchase that AI. And at one point, it used to be not a monopoly, but it used to be let's focus on this one AI tool at a time. But now there's competing AI platforms at a time, and now you're trying to figure out which one is going to work for you, which one works the best. And the confusing part now is well, I've put all of my information into this AI. I'm not talking about privacy or personal data, but there now it's AI can be acting as a commercial saying, come over here and use this one and pay for this service. Or even the AI that you've bought is now telling you, we have a new upgrade, use this one. It's much better, it's faster, it's quicker. So there's where a lot of confusion is on there too. It has helped me as a content creator get my ideas out there faster because we also are in a world where we're living on demand and excuse me, we're living in an on-demand world, and we want to make sure that we're getting our ideas out there and we're being as creative as possible. So it has helped me there, and it has also helped me in my graduate studies since I'm doing my research now. I'm not using it to write my graduate study work, but it has helped me in that engagement partner co-writing coach type session to help me really organize my ideas and thoughts. And I will say now, it is part of my employed profession where I'm amongst a lot of coworkers who are really using AI in their spaces for ethics and policy and training, and is they're coming from all walks of life. So it's a new way of me looking at things where how do I use AI in an AI professional type of a space. So as you can see, you can as you hear me talk, you can hear that there's a lot of friction there. And again, I don't say that that's friction as a bad thing or a good thing, but that is just an experience that I'm still learning how to navigate. For me, it was once I had the idea of okay, I feel like I have the digital learning down or the ed tech down, which in hindsight we really don't, in my opinion. Here comes something that's new that I'm having to kind of navigate and learn how to smooth things over. So that's where I'm learning how to still build that confidence and learn how to uh, figure out where my strength is in this type of environment. So I want to know how some of you feel about that as well. All right. And again, that was my one question. I just jumped into it right then and there. But let's break this down into um, lenses for today's session. So we're breaking this down into four different lenses, and it will be over noise versus structure. We kind of touched on that if you had a chance to look at my last video. Then the lens two, we're going to look at balancing tools and habits. And then the next lens, we're looking at capacity versus expectations. And then in the fourth lens, we're going to be looking at clarity and communication in technology. Okay, so again, noise versus structure, balancing tools, and capacity versus expectations, and clarity and communication. All right, so let's take a look at the first lens, the noise versus the structure. And this is all about how are you organizing your tech and you're reducing that stress and enhancing your productivity. So this one shows up a lot for a lot of people. So before fixing anything, just notice what this slide means to you. As you can see here on the screen, it does represent physical chaos, but that's not necessarily true when it comes to tech. It could be something that's physical, but it could also be something that's mental. I could have everything in technology that's working. My setup can be great. And this could be true for you as well. Your setup can be great, your software can be great, but it can still feel noisy. I don't know how many of you feel that way. Like everything feels great, it looks good, it feels awesome, but at the end of the day, do you step in and go, okay, this still feels like a lot, but I'm gonna keep it going. I'm gonna figure out like how do I maneuver through this space. Again, this is coming from somebody like me. So as you can see, I've really learned how to navigate going through this space, but I'm still a work in progress. Like here's an example. Um Tabs. There is not a day goes by that I'm still even working this out. I always laugh and joke with people like, okay, I have 20,000 monitors in in my workspace. But what does that also mean? Because I have 20,000 monitors, I sometimes have multiple tabs. And that could be visual noise. That could be visual clutter. Or what I put in my notes was unfinished thinking um, that you're having to deal with. And then each tab is always trying to still vibe for your attention. On one particular browser, I think on a lot of browsers, it will let you know in a small little icon that you're not as active on said browser. But how many of you also notice that you have so many browsers open and it's only been like 30 minutes, and then you look up and go, whoa, this is way too much. And it doesn't even matter if you have 10 monitors or even one monitor. You look up and go, I don't know how I have all of these uh, tabs up. It that can represent a lot of visual noise. And I know that there's a lot of tools out there that can help with that and give you those warnings. Um, but it's still, for me, I find that that's just even more addition to figure out how do I manage that time, how do I manage dealing with those devices. Another example, I mean that software. Another example for me is me entering this new job space. There, I pride myself in having good organization management when it comes to my digital files. But how many of you, when you enter a new job space and they have a new operating system, or it could be Google Drive or Microsoft, where you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I manage my own personal workflow on top of what their workflow is? It doesn't matter how well they organize their workflow. It could be the best, it could be the worst, but you have to look at, okay, what works for you. I will admit, right now, I am struggling with that to figure out what my own personal management looks like. So every day at the end of the day, I'm noticing I have so many tabs opened up, and I'm figuring out how do I manage that. So um, that is something that I am in a work in progress with. I'm looking at how I have different folders that I can use, or I'm learning how to just, okay, step away. What can I close down? What can I put back up? What can I just put in a nice formal doc or folder so I can easily access it as quick as possible? And again, that is a work in progress, and that's something that I feel like we can all put into practice. I talked about this last time, and that was with notifications. Not everything, and this is something that we need to think about, not everything that's pinged or that's noise has to feel urgent. Notifications can feel like a sort of pickup reaction. Like, what does that mean? Like, who's doing what? And that's something that I've learned to like, and I'm scared that right now somebody's gonna uh, ping me or do something that's not in this session right now, because I have my phone next to me, and this is a habit that I'm also working on right now. Is every time that I'm streaming, that I have my phone next to me and I have it turned down just in case there is a buzz or notification, because that's a Murphy's law of when you're streaming or you're doing something live, that's when the phone starts to ring, or does something crazy. But um, again, notifications are gives us some. You notice that gives us that train reaction of what's going on. What do we need to look at? Um, what do we need to pick up? So even if the tool is meant to be helpful, it can still interrupt our focus. Noise doesn't mean that it's chaos. It just means that maybe there's a lot of information that you're putting in or that you're getting out, whatever that may be, to just alert you. And you need to figure out, what do I need to really alert me to do a certain task. Maybe I need to only focus my notification alertness from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then whatever else happens, I can stop that. Now, this is not about me telling you what tool to use to do that, but it's something that we need to reflect on what what notifications are really truly important to us during that, let's say, that working day, and what notifications are important for us during the weekend. And again, when I say notifications, I'm not talking about just the ones that we hear, but also the ones that we visually see that get us to look at our devices, because those are actually even bigger. It's the ones that you don't hear, the ones that are really making you see, that are vying for your attention. It is in the past, it's been really easy to turn off the noise, but now it's the visual aspect that we need to start working on to see, to not have us be drawn to that attention. That goes to having that structure. Okay, so when we talk about structure, we're not talking about having that automatic control. Okay, structure doesn't mean that, oh, and now I got a control over it, because just because you have structure, your structure could still be messy. Structure is not rigid. Structure should be something that's going to support you, and the structure when it comes to your digital devices or your digital software should be something that reduces your thinking and not add to it. Structure should be something that you are easily planning to. For example, with this, um, I did not just wake up and say, I'm going to do this live session and I hope everything works. There is a structure for me doing everything, which is why, as you can see, there was that edit, that little faux pas or whatever that happened. But again, I was prepared for that to say, okay, stop, pause. If something should happen, keep it moving. This is I was mentally prepared for that. And I think that's where that structured digital confidence come from. So good structure should feel invisible even when it's working. Good structure should feel invisible when it's working. Okay. Think about educators. Think about that when you're talking about your classroom management. When you walk into a room, when people walk into a room, you see things moving like a well-oiled machine. If you're in that corporate space, we can see things easily working. We want to see that end product and results, and we know that certain people do certain things to get that end product in there. It's all about that structure. A lot of things we don't want to know behind the scenes. We just want to know what that end result is, and only you as the person know that this part didn't work, but I knew how to fix that, but you didn't see that. Okay, so let's talk about some examples that you can reference that can help uh, quiet or slow things down. And I hear some of these things a lot. Emails, chats, meetings. Those are things that are always pulling at you at once. Those aren't necessarily noise unless you turn those on, but they're always vying for your attention. You may have files saved everywhere. Remember, I told you already that that's something that I am working on in my new position, where I'm figuring out where do I store my files so I can easily access them. That could be the noise and structure. People feeling busy, but it's not always clear exactly what they're doing. Or it's not always clear to you, even if you feel busy, but what you're actually doing. You're feeling behind in your digital work, but you don't know why you're digitally behind. These are normalized without pointing. Oops, excuse me. These can feel normal, but you feel like there's just something off about it. Okay, so with those, do these if any of those point out at you, like the email chat and meetings pulling you at once, the files being saved everywhere, people, you may feeling busy, but you're not sure why. With your digital tools or software, feeling behind in your digital work, but you're not understanding why. Uh, do these feel more like noise, or they feel like a lack of structure to you? Is the stress coming from maybe too much information coming to you all at once, or not knowing where certain things belong? Does your digital day feel very loud? And I'm not talking about the physical loudness, but just in general loud, even when nothing is broken. I will admit this is kind of where I'm at right now. It is nothing that maybe the company or the tools that I'm using it. I'm having to internally assess how do I organize these things to where I need to make sure these are working for me. Okay. So um I'm kind of looking at some of my notes here as I'm talking this through. Um what I've seen when it comes to these questions is most people start thinking, well, it's a skill set. I'm not savvy at this, so I need to buy this tool or I need to learn how to use this tool. But really, it could be just really a noise issue. Again, not a physical. It could be a physical noise or it could be just a mental noise, but it could be something to where like, okay, I need to step back, I need to breathe, and I need to figure out what I need to do step one, what I need to do step two, what I need to do step three. And actually, I will tell you that that does help me during my beginning of my workday, especially when I'm talking to my teammates or dealing with things that I need to do for myself. Setting that here are maybe 3 to 5 things that I need to tackle how do I tackle those and make sure that I'm normalizing that and reducing some of that noise. Okay. So when things feel heavy to you, the first question is shouldn't be what tool do I need to do to help me lift that burden, because you're trying to look at how do I reduce that tool to remove you're trying to look at this is you're trying to look at how to have that digital inventory to where it works for you. So you don't want to necessarily add tools or remove tools just yet. What you're looking at is I'm trying to figure out how to have a good structure. Okay. So that was a lot, but let's look at the second lens. Okay. Speaking of tools, I get into this conversation a lot, and that is mastering your tools versus habits, mastering your tools, and identifying what works for you to enhance your digital experience. Okay, so I will say that right now, it's conference season, new tech season, and a lot of stuff is happening right now. So, what uh, you want to look at is sometimes it's not necessarily about the noise at all when it comes to tools. It's about what is our relationship with our software and digital tools. And remember, I just said just about no more than 10 seconds ago, it's conference season. It's like new tool season. We just came out of the holidays, and there's just a lot of stuff that's trying to vibe for our attention. And I have said this a lot, and I think that this relates to this is that when it comes to tools, I don't have any commitments. I don't marry them, I date them. And so I have no strong commitments, because if I feel like I just grab a tool here, grab a tool there, grab a tool there, I it, it begins to be way too much for me. So I have to think about how does my relationship work with this tool, and speaking of that noise, like how is it helping me quiet things down? Do I necessarily need to have that tool into my life? Is it really helping me? So um, at this point in time, when we're talking about tools, uh, tool hopping can be used as an avoidance. So like sometimes when we think about looking at tools, it can feel like switching tools can be sort of productive, but is it really productive? That's something that you're going to have to think about. And it feels like, oh my gosh, we are moving really fast. If we see like a brand new tool, like, oh my gosh, this is great. It does some wonderful things. I've been in this space for X amount of years. And sometimes the question that I have is when we're using tools, whatever organization I've been in, there's this new tool that has been out. And I said, well, wait a minute, pause. Have we really maximized the tool that we've already had? Does the, we've seen a great new tool and it's shiny and new and it's great, but does it meet what we really need to but does it meet what we really need to do for our workflow? Does the tool that we already have do X, Y, and Z? Let's go back and look at it, because we just saw this brand new tool, but does the tool that we've already purchased or that we're already using do the same thing? Because we don't want to keep adding and adding and adding and adding and giving that extra digital stress. Okay. So again, it gives the sometimes when we tool hop, it gives the illusion of progress, but it avoids addressing habits that are underneath. So I've even caught myself saying that a new tool will uh, will fix everything. It will fix that feeling, um, and not the problem. And that's not what we want to look at. Like we really need to address, well, what is the core problem that we need to address, that we need to fix? Okay. Look, does the tool that we currently have address those needs? If it doesn't, can we look at are there certain advances in those tools already that can help with those needs before we move on to something else? Or Is there something personally that we can just offload off our plate? Maybe we're personally doing too much. Maybe our team is doing too much. Is this something that's truly needed? So, or maybe, am I doing too much? So, those are some things that we have to really think about when it comes to our workflow. Are there just way too many steps? Are there way too many automations that we're doing? Does the system look that impressive, but it still feels heavy? Um, those are some things that we also need to assess. Does that doesn't necessarily mean that we need to jump and run and get another tool, but again, we're taking that step and going, okay, can I still easily handle the tool that I'm using in order to get said workflow done? I do understand that we are in this on demand world and things need to be done faster and quicker and better. However, we are still human beings. We're still human beings, and there's only so much that we can do within a day. And that doesn't mean that, okay, then we need to have a machine that's going to replace us. And I don't mean AI. I'm just saying any machine. I'm just saying, well, we're trying to do work that's of quality. And while we're trying to find a new tool here and a new tool there, maybe it's not producing what we're really looking for, if that makes sense. In my experience, I've built a lot of workflows that maybe have technically worked, but it's taken a lot of energy for me to maintain the task itself. An example is, I'll just call it out what it is. Like, I have let go of the Streamlabs uh, OBS because it didn't connect with what I needed to do, and I realized that OBS is doing what I need for it to do. I've done all these connections, but I also realized that because of my practice, because I've uploaded my skill, I've grown in my skill sets. I realized that I can go back to a tool that I thought was once complicated is now even simpler for me to adopt and use because I have grown more in this space. And so now that is, and I'm not saying this is a bad or good thing, so please nobody slam me, but um, that is a payment that I now can take off of my plate because I don't need said tool. So that's an assessment that I need to do for myself. So speaking of that, so paying for tools when you're looking at that only using 10% of it, that's part of that finding your balance. Feeling guilty about not using everything, that's part of that digital assessment that you need to do for yourself. And then being confused about features with effectiveness, that's something that you can also take into assessment for yourself as well. Just because a tool can do everything doesn't mean that it should. There are some things that you may need to look at for yourself and then take that assessment of, can I do this for myself or can I have this automated and then understand what that automation is? Okay. And then I'm skipping some things going through here, but because uh, assessing using stuff that's free and things that are paid, that is something that you definitely need to look at. How much do you feel like you need to use the free version of tools versus the paid tools to give you that digital confidence that you need? um, I've been in, like I said, I keep saying I've been in this space for so long that for a while it used to be, keep using these uh, free tools, using these free tools, using these free tools. But what I've also learned from the business side is that there's only so much a free tool can do, and so at some point you're going to have to pay for that tool. Um, I've sat down with a group of educators as I was building out some curriculum, and what really shocked me into the space was they said we're willing to pay for said product if it's going to produce the outcomes that we need to produce, and we're able to understand and execute the tool easily and effectively. We're not so much focused on the free. And for me in that space, that was really surprising for me because I've been in the space for years where in the beginning it was so much. Let's use the free. Let's use the free. Let's use the free. So we can't use them more to where now we got to pay for it. But I was talking with a group of educators where they said, let's look at it, evaluate it, and if it's really going to do what we need to do, and it really help relieve some of that digital stress and boost some of our confidence up, I'm ready for us to use it. But I want you to also look at if you have too many tools that you feel like, well, I have this tool here that also I have this tool here and I have the same tool here that do the same thing. Maybe it's time to let one go. That was my prime example with my Streamlabs and my OBS. I'm like, okay, I have two things here, and believe it or not, I said, oh well, this one I can use this one tool here just for my training talks, and this other tool over here to do X. And I'm constantly paying for X, Y, Z for one tool, and really not utilizing the other. But then as I'm going through a lot of my personal PD that I'm producing, I'm realizing that I'm more effective using one tool versus the other. So I let one go. So that was my own need assessment because I realized it one tool was disrupting my rhythm and my flow and giving me more stress than the other. And it wasn't the Streamlabs or in the OBS. It was other tools as well that I also realized even during times when I was unemployment, I realized some of these tools I really did not need anymore. It was hiding in disguise. How about some of you? Have you realized some of that where some of these tools I didn't know that I really needed it. It was just hiding in disguise, and I was just paying for it because I knew that it was there when I really needed it. But I'm paying $5 to $20 for just to have something, but I really don't need it anymore. That's something that definitely I want you to really take inventory and look at. Okay, so capacity versus expectations. So we talked about the noise and habits. This next one goes a little bit deeper, and I want you to really look at this. Okay, this is about whether your digital setup actually matches the season of where you're at right now. Does it make sense for you? This is not Bradford telling you, "Oh my God, my stuff it does not work for me. I need to run to said electronic store and go out and buy these things, but I don't have the money to do it. I need to get a credit card and do X, or I need to sell some of my stuff because it just doesn't work for me right now." I'm not telling you to do any of that. What I'm telling you to really think about is whatever digital setup you have, does it fit for where you're at right now? And if it does or doesn't, what are some steps that you can do to make sure that the workflow is working best for you? Notice that I stay quiet right there because you that's something that you have to think about. And if you're thinking about even growing in the digital space, think about, okay, well, what am I doing now to make sure that I am going to grow in that space, but also make sure that I'm filtering out all the chaos and all the noise, especially if you're in the content creation space, or if you're a big techie person like me. What are some things that you feel like you need and feel things that you don't need? Like I said in my earlier talk, like there are days where yes, I do feel overwhelmed by this sometimes, but I also like the space that I'm in. I'm comfortable in this space that I'm in, and I enjoy it. I am learning how to say stop, pause, go somewhere else and do X. So I do enjoy that. So think about uh, your experience. Um, each tools can be different from per whatever season that you're in. Now, when I first started in this space, I didn't have a big glamorous setup like you probably would know me now. I started off with something simple. It could have been like I've had a Chromebook or a simple device and I just got started. That's something that I recommend. If you're interested in getting into said space and you're stuck on, "Ah, I just have something that's just so small," that's fine. Go in and get started, and then you take that needs assessment and go, okay, this is what I feel like I would like to do next, but is it also going to disrupt my workflow? Maybe I need to learn about it first to see if it fits my lifestyle, things like that. You also got to recognize that too, that sometimes you may get burnt out using uh, your extra devices or your extra software. And that's a real thing. Burnout is often a mismatch, but it's not failure. Okay? Feeling behind even when you're working hard, exhaustion from maintaining a whole bunch of systems, and feeling guilt from not keeping up, that's real. That's real. But sometimes it's okay to be vocal and say, like, you know what, this is a lot. It seemed too much. I'm only going to work on this part. I'm willing to grow and go to this next level, but right now I'm in this space, and these are the things I'm willing to do. I do understand that, and I'm saying if I was a I am a content creator, but if I'm willing to grow my content, realizing that I'm in this step right now, and I want to get to these next couple of steps, but I have to start very small, and I got to figure out where my comfort level is in order to get there. If from A to D. I don't want to just jump from A to D. I want to go from A to B to C to D. And I want to be careful about doing it because I want to make sure that I'm reducing the noise. I have a solid structure and I have a good flow. Because if I jump from A to D and I don't know what I'm doing and I feel stressed, I'm not going to want to do this anymore, or I'm not going to want to be consistent. And that's something that you're going to have to want to assess. Okay? So make sure that even in this digital space that there's a connection. Um, for me, I want to make sure that what I'm doing in my digital workflow is connecting to my teaching, my creating, my work, my personal life. I want to make sure that there is a connection and a flow to it, but also I know when to turn said things off. I'm not going to put all fingers down because I don't want to put up the middle finger or anything like that. But like, okay, I see it for me. I see a connection, but I know that okay, turn this one off or turn this other one off. Okay, and I use these certain things like that. So I'm learning that balance as I'm still learning about connections. Okay, um, we often see other people's connections and setups and software use online, and we often want to compare ourselves to that. That goes back to that noise. Okay, that goes back to that visual noise. Like, oh man, I see, I see Michael set up. Don't know what Michael I'm talking about. Just making up a name, and their setup looks great. I definitely want that one. But before you do that, does that fit your workflow? Does that fit your style? Does it even fit your space? Do you need all of those things? Does that work for you? Um, I I will tell you too. Like, yes, I have a whole bunch of monitors in my room, but that started out as for me having a clean separation of one computer was for work, one computer was for my personal stuff. Well, in the new space that I'm in, there isn't a work device that's given to me, so I'm using my other device. Well, I have another device that I could use for work, but I decided, you know what, I just don't want to do that. And I need to learn what that absolute balance of I'm going to cut this off and this is what I'm doing right here. And so I've actually taken that laptop down and I don't have that anymore. But that took practice and a rhythm for me to do. Okay. Clarity. I keep thinking about my friend right now because she always helps me with this clarity. And that person, you know who you are. Even when noise is reduced, habits are solid and expectations match capacity. There's one place where friction shows up, and that's clarity for yourself and for the people you work with. Okay. This isn't just about being organized, it's about being understandable with the tools that you're wanting to work with. Okay. That clear communication. Okay. I've actually learned how to be a little bit more open, even in my new job that I'm at, like understanding where there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm still trying to navigate what files here, what files there, and I've learned to be even more open about that. I used to not be that way, but even the most technology companies, and I'm not saying this technology company is bad. It's just I'm just learning about, well, I need this workflow here, I need this workflow there, and they're very open about how that could be improved in their workflow. So that's another thing, just being open and really clarifying what works best for you and how that aligns with what organization that you're working with or working for. So I would take a look into things like that to have that clarity. So systems that only make sense in your head. Let's talk about that. So you may know where things are, but a lot of people don't. So this goes if you're working for an organization. Now, if you're doing this by yourself, like if you have your own personal devices by yourself, software by yourself, that's different. But having that clarity to make sure that, again, this is what I talked about earlier, understanding where here's where you can find said things, making sure that you're clearly communicating. Here's where you can find X, here's where you can find Y, here's where you can find Z, is really going to help people understand where uh, you are framing your technology structure. And that's even going to help yourself when you're speaking that out, when you're typing that out. So you're able to help reduce some of that friction, some of that noise. Okay. Um, re-explaining as a signal. Sometimes when you have to re-explain a lot, that could be two things. That could be something that where it could help you, but it could also be a struggle. How often do you find yourself repeating instructions a lot? Does it mean is it supporting what you're doing in the digital space, or is it hurting you? I am one of those people where I'm like, okay, I may have to ask over and over and over again. That that may not be a fault on how you're presenting your material. It could be just I need for it to sink in to my brain. Okay, so but remember, when you have clarity and clear communication when it comes to your tech, whether it's implementing it or creating it, it reduces that load, uh, the guesswork, the fewer interruptions, and you have more trust in the system. Okay, so no matter what tools you're adding on or taking away, always have that clarity and communication of why is this going to work best for me, or why am I really taking this away, if it's something that's personal for you or if it's something that you're doing with a team or organization. Ask that question. Okay, why is this going to work and be better for me or for our team? Okay, if you're unclear about implementing said tool, others are going to feel unclear about it too. So you got to make sure that you're clear about how you're implementing your devices or your software so that others can understand where you're coming from as well. So I do hear this a lot when it comes from using software and tools. I know where things are, but no one else does. How many of you have heard that? Or I'm always in this bottleneck part. Um, it's faster if I just do this by myself. That is something that I know that I personally have struggled with. But when you're in a team, I've gotten so much better with this. I've You have to learn when it comes to those digital confidence and digital practices of, if I'm clear on my instructions, if I'm clear on digital tasks I need for them to do, I'm able to let that go so that that one person can able to do that digital task. Okay. Even though I feel like I know how to do this, but I need to be able to learn how to take stuff off my plate so I can move on to something else that I really need to do. So those are some things that could be done to think about this. Okay. Some questions that you could be thinking about asking: does when you're creating digital systems, does your system make sense to someone else? If you're in a group or a team, does it make sense to you if it's something that's personal? Are you able to explain your system? Could someone step into your system, personal or professional, if you were out for a day? Do you trust your Do you trust your system on a busy day? Okay. Again, these are personal or professional. Do you trust your system, whether it be digital, the digital hardware or software, to work on a busy day? So those are some things that you can even think about. So reflecting and embracing your digital growth, recognizing that there's obstacles and embracing your digital journal, your journey. So take time to reflect on your tools, your software, where you're at, where you think you want to take things away, things where you want to add to be more productive, things of where you want to learn. This is a great time. I say 2026 is a great time to really look at your tools and what you want to implement to work for your productivity, what works for you. Okay. And be proactive and vocal about it. Talk about it. Those are one of the goals that I have for this year, for myself this year. Is I want to be able to talk about what's working for me and what's not working for me. And like I kept saying in the beginning, like it was great that I had that faux pas where oops, this wasn't working for me today, because I'm not perfect. We're all not perfect. Some things will work, some things won't work. But my goal for you, my goal for myself is embrace the digital journey that you're on. Embrace that that tool may work for you, but it's not going to work for me. But maybe I'm willing to learn it. Maybe I'm not willing to learn it, and be okay with that. Be okay with that. So I intentionally have this slide blank. Okay, digital confidence comes from practice. So before we close out, I'm trying to leave this space open for a moment. There's no question on the screen. There's nothing that I specifically want to talk about here, but I want to give a moment to even ask what do you think your next steps are to either reduce or even add to your digital confidence practice? What stood out for you in this video tonight? If it's just one thought, that is enough. If it's more than one, great. What are some things that you could write down that you could implement today, that you could do for the rest of the week, for the next 2 weeks, for the next month, for the next 3 months? I want you to think about those things. What are some simple things that you can do? And notice, yeah, I may have talked about some small little tools for me, but my goal here was not to talk about XYZ tools, because I want you to really think about this for yourself. Digital confidence comes from practice. What do you feel like you may want to add and learn to help you with your digital confidence? What do you feel like you need to take away to help you with your digital practice? What do you feel like you need to learn to help you with your digital confidence? That could be with anything: software, hardware, anything that you're looking at. What can help you get you better organized, give you that structure that you need? What can help you cut out all that noise, that structure? Think about those lenses that we talked about today to get you to say, okay, I'm ready to move forward from this step to this step to this step to this step with some clarity. So that's why I have this screen blank. Maybe you can pause that to even scribble and write on, and just to have something to think about. So I'm ending this with my hands-on workshop that I will be doing at the end of this month. And I would love to hear from some of you about how you have been practicing your digital confidence. And this workshop is something that you can register for. You can go onto my website, tickertechedu.com. This one is a deep dive. We're going to be talking about practical digital strategies to help boost your digital confidence and skills, like it says on the screen. And all you need to do again is go on my website, like I just talked about, and you sign up for the workshop, and we will go through some practical strategies to get you set up for success. You will have resources to help you get that digital confidence that you need to get you going on your digital journey. And there is a VIP section where you can sign up to do a one on one digital confidence training with me to boost up more of your digital confidence here as well. So my goal again for you is to overcome that digital friction, get you ready for the whole entire year from January 2026 all the way to January 2027. So I want to thank you for connecting with me. Please keep connecting with me and learn more. I want to do more of these videos, so make sure that you're following me. All of my social media is at the bottom of the screen that you see there. You can just go to linkapp.com/edtechtinker. You will be able to connect with me, follow me, DM me for any questions. You can send me an email at bh@tickertechedu.com. My website is tickertechedu.com. Again, my email is bh@tickertechedu.com. And then my social media is linkapp.com/edtechtinker. And again, you can catch this video at youtube.com/edtechtinker. I'm so glad that you guys had a chance to listen and have comments for this particular session. And I can't wait to see you guys on the 31st. And I will talk to you soon. Take care. What's up, everyone? It's Bradford Harris, also known as EdTech Tinker across your social media channels. Thanks for tuning in and staying connected. Whether you're here for the first time or returning, welcome. I'm passionate about digital learning, STEM, esports, gaming, and emerging technology. And I'm here to help you make an impact using digital tools and future-ready strategies. Through my work with Tech Edu, I help educators, professionals, and organizations design engaging learning experiences, build career pathways, and scale innovation. From instructional design and online course development to digital fluency workshops and career branding services, I've got you covered. Do you need help with your resume, social or website profiles, or launching a course? Want to level up your skills or your team's tech strategy? Let's talk. You can quickly explore all my services and connect with me easily at linkapp.com/edtechtinker. Whether it's Twitch, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, or my official site at tickertechedu.com, I'm just a click away. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to stay in the loop with live streams, on-demand content, and the latest updates. Turn on your notifications so you never miss what's happening in the world of digital learning and emerging technology. I go live at least twice a month, bringing you fresh, tailored content every time, from gaming and education to tech tool tutorials to professional growth strategies. Did you miss a stream? No worries. You can catch the highlight reels and full replays anytime on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/@edtechtinker. And hey, if you got a question, you want to collaborate, or are looking for presentations, consulting, or professional development sessions, virtual or in person, just reach out. Let's connect and create something meaningful starting today. Thanks again for being part of this journey, and I'll see you next time.